Major Cyclone Olga continues to defy expectations right now. The storm has just gotten the latest advisory in from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center with maximum sustained winds of 145 miles per hour and gusts of 175 miles per hour, making this storm an official Southern Hemisphere Category 5. Storm, as you can quite clearly see on satellite imagery, continues to present a well-defined structure. However, latest frames show that despite the intensification into a Category 5, the eye wall has begun to collapse even further since earlier this morning. And the storm does appear to be running now into some slightly elevated wind shear, which will make this reach of Category 5 intensity very brief. Moving on to infrared imagery right now, we have quite impressive cloud tops going on. As you can quite clearly see, cloud top temperatures, as soon as it's done loading, continue to remain at between negative 75 and even a pocket of negative 90 on the western side of the eye wall, right there. The storm is extremely powerful indeed. As you can quite clearly see, though, on infrared, by the shape of its structure, you can see, just by looking at it, that wind shear is beginning to affect the storm already. The structure is a little bit less well defined and a bit less circular as it was previously. I don't know what the Joint Typhoon Warning Center is seeing in terms of upgrading it to Category 5, considering the recent decay of the depth of the eye wall and the storm's overall circular structure. But they have their reasons, and the storm certainly doesn't have to have the storm doesn't necessarily have to be an extremely mature, structured storm to be a powerful storm or to strengthen either way. If you remember Cyclone Megan, that storm was a Category 3 and never even had an eye. So there has been an increase in winds. Getting a look at the forecast models on this storm. Excuse me, that's not the right tab. There we go. Getting a look at the forecast models on this storm right now. You can quite clearly see, storm very powerful indeed, but is going to quickly weaken from here as the storm is already running into some wind shear. Some of the winds may affect latest as some of the winds may affect the coastline. There may be some wind speeds toward maybe 40 or 45 miles per hour or so, maybe 50 along the coastlines along the coastline of Australia, Western Australia, as the storm's structure really falls apart at that point. The wind field appears, with what they're forecasting here, appears to have the potential to be severely displaced to the south of the center of the storm as well, with the north side of the storm, at least the remnants of it, being very bare indeed. So the storm really going to fall apart and just lose its organization as it runs into that wind shear. And then, of course, we're always keeping tabs on that second cyclone and all the mess that's happening in the northeastern and north central Australia. You can quite clearly see on the wind model here tons of areas of just scattered areas of cyclone force winds. Of tropical storm equivalent force winds, resulting in the formation of 1, 2, possibly 2 that time. It's no longer 4 anymore, but looking at the potential for 2 more, possibly long range, 2 more cyclones in the northwest Coral Sea near the Cape York Peninsula and New Caledonia. Getting a look at the rainfall potential for this storm. Oh, excuse me, not 24-hour. I need total rainfall. Jeez. Generally, we're going to see this storm continue to drop rainfall over the oceans off the coast of the west coast of Australia, and then right on the northern tip there of whatever peninsula that is. I don't know if it has a name or not. It's a very small peninsula, but getting that small peninsula there getting probably is unnamed, getting about 15 to 20 millimeters of rain, and that's the highest rainfall totals Australia will see from this storm, really. And then moving on, all that action in the areas near the Gulf of Carpentaria and the northwestern Coral Sea getting large amounts of rainfall, over 500 millimeters in many areas. Possibly, I wouldn't even be surprised if some of these rainfall totals go near 700 to 750 millimeters of rain. Thankfully, that most of it is over water. However, we do have to be concerned about this area of the coastline over here, which seems to be getting on at least 400 millimeters of rain on the farther southern coastline of the Cape York Peninsula. And then areas of Gulf of Carpentaria and northern Australia getting in on rainfall totals between 125 and 200 millimeters as well. So we're watching that very closely. Wind shear right now, as you can quite clearly see, the wind shear values are no longer favorable over Cyclone Olga right now. They are at the neutral point with wind shear at 20 knots right now. We are on the brink of the storm entering unfavorable zones, which will give it the ability to which will take away its ability to strengthen further. Now, again, looking at sea surface temperatures, still don't know what gave it the juice to go from last night's 85 miles per hour to this morning, toward this late morning's 145. But sea surface temperatures under the storm are between 27, 28, and maybe pushing 29 degrees Celsius, where the storm is right now. But will drop off to 27 or 28 as the storm where the storm will be approximately 12 hours from now, and then a few days from now the storm will be in water temperatures of 26 to 27 degrees Celsius, which will no longer be able to hold the storm's intensity. It's most likely that the warm water temperatures being between 27 and 29 degrees Celsius are probably what provided a little bit more juice for this storm to reach Category 5. Or reach Category 4 from this morning, even just that. So, very impressive indeed. We're going to start checking in daily in terms of the forecast on these, on the anomalies as well, considering we are watching this El Nino very closely. And La Nina, it's beginning. It's quite obvious. Cool spots, cool pools right there. Moving out from the northwestern coast of the continental South America. So it's beginning. All right, so moving on toward one more thing. Yes, the cone. You can quite clearly see the maximum intensity right now, 120 knots, 145 miles per hour. The storm is at that Category 5 stage right now. Just barely, at this time. The storm, as expected, will weaken quite quickly. As you can see, the small wind field, indeed. These are winds right here of sustained winds of 40 miles per hour or higher. Although, as we saw in the forecast models, the stronger wind gusts will likely be felt along. Lemonth is the name of that is the name of a city on that small peninsula. If I'm reading that right, it's written so tiny. Yeah, Lemonth. Okay. So around areas such as Lemonth there are expecting the potential for wind gusts between 40 and 50 miles per hour from the remnants of this storm. I wonder if it's Lemonth or Lemonth. It's probably Lemonth. Pronunciations. And here's the status from the latest information available. Again, 120 knots, 145 miles per hour, Category 5, with a central pressure of 939 millibars. We'll have more updates this afternoon.